Should Louis C.K. make a comeback in comedy? There are two schools of thought on this from two different publications that we're going to be talking about. One came from The Hollywood Reporter, and then the counter opinion comes from Jezebel. We're going to be breaking these down for you. So the one from The Hollywood Reporter by Stuart Miller, the headline is Louis C.K.'s path to a comeback likely runs through comedy clubs. And it just discusses what a comeback from Louis C.K. might look like. They do some ethical arithmetic, as Brett likes to call it, with regards to how his the crimes that he committed, how they weigh up against like Harvey Weinstein and all that stuff. And then Jezebel's title is finally the sympathetic article no one asked for about how Louis C.K. can make his comeback. So here's what they're saying. In this first article, Stuart Miller says, no quote has ever been proven more false more often than F. Scott Fitzgerald's declaration that there are no second acts, that there are no second acts in American lives. So the question is not really whether CK will eventually come back, but when, where, and how. They get the feedback from a number of different comedians, mostly male in this article, just for full transparency, about what he could do and how he should do it, whether he should do a 60-minute sit-down and be super serious. Some comedians are saying, you know, he should take this into a comedy special and he should talk about this. Now, I was really skeptical about this piece, but then towards the end of it, I recognized that a comedian who we know and who I respect very much, Ida Rodriguez, had a comment in this, and it really made me think about this. Ida Rodriguez, whose comedy is fierce on female empowerment, recently ran into CK at a restaurant. I could tell he was shocked. I said, hello, she says, but if we stay on a war footing with this, we'll never find solutions. Rodriguez says CK's audience was not only huge, but was filled with young men. He has the chance to atone and to educate, she says. If he uses the opportunity to address his shortcomings, maybe he can change a few minds among his fans, and maybe he can save a couple of girls from unnecessary and unwanted incidents. So pretty powerful words from Ida Rodriguez, and I was really happy that they interviewed her. Now, what's interesting in the conflicting Jezebel piece, sort of, which is kind of picking apart this piece, they are not so into it. The other is Ida Rodriguez, a comedian whose act is described as, quote, fierce on female empowerment, who opines that CK's revamped act could maybe save a few women from sexual assault. And this author says there's never been a better time to ask a follow-up question than when someone tells you that Louis C.K.'s comedy can keep women from, quote, unnecessary and unwanted incidents. Basically saying that this is the piece that no one asked for. Why are we talking about this? Closing the article with the latest CK piece runs the same day as another Stuart Miller piece, this one exploring how male comedians are behaving differently post #MeToo. The partial answer, if you must know, is that they are increasingly concerned about political correctness, more self-conscious in conversation around women, and yes, loath to offer strong opinions anymore. The author closes the entire article, which saying this raises an interesting idea. Perhaps these guys could just stay quietly at home for a few more months and jerk each other off. Comedy and society at large will probably survive. I'm interested to hear how you interpreted these two articles, Amir.
Look, I am a huge Louis C.K. fan of his comedy. That said, I think I'm more on the side of no one asked for this article. Why are we having this conversation right now? It's been like less than 6 months since all of this happened. There's no one I know that's been like, well, when is Louis C.K. gonna come back? Where is he? Like, I miss him, like, I need his comedy right now. No one has been asking about that. We've been perfectly fine without him. Why are these conversations being had right now?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that's sort of what I was coming down on at the end, is comedy and society at large will probably survive. I truly hadn't thought of Louis C.K.
Me neither. And I'm a huge fan of his, but like, I don't care, and I think he needs to be on the side for a little bit longer.
I really think though, Ida's quote did strike me. I
agree with her quote.
I just wish that, and something that the Jezebel article points out as well, is I wish that perhaps this author would have maybe reached out to some of the women who raised allegations against him. I think that hearing from other male comics who just were not affected by his behavior it's weak. It's kind of weak sauce. I'm reading through the majority of this article. I'm like, okay, cool, we get it. You know, he's gonna have a second act. I'm sure he will. He absolutely will. I mean, look at like, it's so true in Hollywood. People are incredibly forgiving insufficient time. I think of like Mel Gibson. There was that joke that like John Mulaney made when they were hosting the Spirit Awards, and they're like, "How long does it take to forgive?" And they're like, "It turns out 6 years." That will make sense if you saw the Spirit Awards. But in any case, the only part of this article that made me sort of think, all right, is there another way to look at this? Was Ida Rodriguez. Was her saying, perhaps, you know, if we stay on a war path, on a war footing with this, we'll never find solutions. What do you think about that?
I agree with it in theory, but in practice, that doesn't typically happen. Like, they're not gonna keep bringing up the mistakes that they made over and over again. Eventually, the public's gonna completely forget about it, and we're just gonna move on, and there's gonna be someone else who's gonna make a big mistake like this, and they're just gonna get their comeback too 5 months down the line.
I also think that something that she said was he has the chance to atone and to educate. And remember how disappointed we were in in the apology that he issued?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
It was so...
But how long is he gonna atone for? Like, no one wants to keep atoning for the rest of their lives. Like, he has a team that's gonna be like, all right, you're gonna do this for like a week or two, and then people are gonna forget after that, and then you're not gonna say anything, and you're gonna start getting roles again, and then we'll just move on from this whole thing. He's not gonna be like, look, I made this mistake for the rest of my life. I'm gonna atone and make sure no one else makes mistakes like this anymore. No, that's not what's gonna happen.
You think it's gonna be like a PR?
In theory, I completely agree with what Ida was saying. Maybe I'm too cynical to accept that that's what's gonna happen in reality.
Yeah.
And it's just going off what has happened in the past with other famous people who have done messed up things like this.
I also think it hasn't even been a year. You know, it just
on top of everything, it hasn't even been a year. I think it's something like 5 months since this thing went down.
So calm your socks a little bit.
Who is getting like greased right now to like write these pieces? Like his team is like, they're so desperate for money right now. They're like, please, we need him to come back. Write this piece for us.
I mean, and the thing about it is that as they talk about in this article, is that he basically can work at comedy clubs. He can be working at comedy clubs, no problem. They were saying that he had an audience. Remember?
Yeah, of course. Bill Cosby still has an audience too.
Yeah.
He was doing comedy within the past year, and people were going to his shows.
I don't know. It's just one of those sort of conflicting think pieces in the sense of who asked for this.
No one.
I don't really care.
No one.
And
this is Hollywood, the machine at its finest right here. Like, we talk about like, how does Woody Allen like keep surviving, like despite all of these horrible claims against him?
Right.
This is how it works. Like, this is like media publications that write primarily for Hollywood. They got to, and then these things come out. And then he's gonna be back within who knows how long after this piece came out.
I just care so little. Like I hadn't recognized how little I had thought about Louis C.K.
And now we're all thinking about him too. We're like, well, okay.
Well, just for the duration of this video, we have just about 40 seconds left, and then I'm sure we'll forget about him soon after. But what I thought was interesting is just reading at them side by side, and I kind of went in thinking that I'd already made up my mind, which is probably not the way to read anything. And I came down as soon as I saw that they were speaking with Ida, who I just respect and I think is so wonderful.
Love her, yeah.
It's kind of crazy how when you know someone, you're totally influenced by that. I was like, she has the total point. And then I read the Jezebel article and I was like, actually, I think we could all be fine if Louis C.K. wasn't releasing comedy anytime soon.
You know who deserves like a comeback after 6 months? Like someone who had like major drug problems or something, like Iron Man or whatever. But like something like this, like come on, wait a little bit longer. Like people were doing just fine without you.